look at the Denver Nuggets and say, whoa, just a week ago, they were that minus 115 or so price. Now we're looking at them at a 7-1 price. Any chances the Nuggets can actually come back?
I think this is going 6 or 7 games, so I think that could be a little bit of a tighter spread between those two. But when you got those two guys, those two monsters, and Towns and Edwards, it's just really hard.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Cam Rising stuff last year with Utah, 3 months of pretending he was questionable with a torn ACL, ridiculous.
It's a lot of gray right now when it comes to this stuff, and we really are. When people say we're in like the second or third inning of sports betting, that's why I agree, because there's so many of those situations that are very, very difficult to explain to a novice.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time had 35 in the first half, Cam. And then, of course, he did not have another point the rest of the game.
Lillard's, it's playoff game time. This guy will show up. He will hit shots. Indiana, you better respond here, because I'll tell you, that's a bad loss. We were wrong, Carver. Like, hey, I admit, I was on the Pelicans. This game, I lost.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Look at this guy. What's going on? It's Brian Stocia, the other Brian. I love visiting with you. I don't often get a chance to do this. Brian Ciano's out. I don't know what he's doing. They didn't inform me, but they just asked me to come on. He's probably somewhere on a beach, maybe. Maybe he's in Hawaii, enjoying a drink with an umbrella in it with his family. I don't know what he's doing, but I hope he's having a good time. And it's my honor to be here and sit in his seat, although this is kind of my seat right now. But you know what I'm saying. It all makes sense. I love coming on SportsGrid and talking to you. There's so much to get into today. A loaded show as always. I mean, everybody's going to be here. My buddy Chris Lights Out Lido, you know him. He used to fight for the UFC. Lido now actually fought for Bare Knuckle as well. And now he commentates alongside Sean Wheelock at all of our events. Does a great job, too. We're going to talk to him about Conor McGregor. We're going to talk to him about the ownership with Conor McGregor. We're going to talk to him about Lido's past. There's a lot to give with Lido. We'll talk about BKFC 61, which is coming up this Saturday at Mohegan Sun. We haven't been in the Northeast in a while, and now we're back. We'll get to that in a minute, too. There's so much. Who else do we have on the show today? Jimmy Altera Rivera. He's in the main event coming up in Connecticut at Mohegan Sun this Saturday. We'll check in with him. I heard that he was a police officer or a state trooper or something. I want to find out more about that and a little bit about, how he's feeling heading into the fight. But then after that, we're going to talk to Jared Captain Deadpool Warren. This guy is, I'll probably say it when I talk to him. I say it every time. He broke a guy's face. Captain Deadpool is on a tear. He's been on a tear. Now he gets to fight for the light heavyweight title June 21st in Hollywood, Florida. It's going to be BKFC 62. That's our next major event. There's a lot of other events, by the way. BKFC.com. You can see all of our events. We're on the road like every weekend doing fights for you great fans not even around the country anymore, around the world. We're growing so fast. But he fights Jomi Escoboza. Jomi Escoboza has been on a tear as well. Now, Jomi's only loss is against Jared Warren. I'm sure Jared will talk about that later as well. It's an intriguing fight. And at the top of that card, you have Brian Duran going for his first ever title. He's been undefeated here in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. His name's El Gallo, we call him. That's his nickname. He'll be fighting Kai Hefty Bag Stewart, the Outcast, who is the champion. And this is the fight for the featherweight gold. But this is the fight where Kai doesn't keep his mouth shut. Kai likes to talk. That's why Kai is so excited that Conor McGregor is now one of our owners, because Kai's looked up to him. He's kind of based his career as far as the smack talk a little bit off Conor. So this is an exciting fight. I've never seen Kai working harder, and I've never seen a guy with tougher knuckles than Brian Duran. I've seen Brian Duran punch sledgehammers, poles, bricks, punch through watermelons. This guy is ready to go. He's got so much street credibility in the Miami area. If you ask about Brian Duran, I heard one time where he beat up like 3 guys at once. This is Kai's toughest challenge to date. But looking at the June 21st card, BKFC 61, we see this. We see this and we hear it. And I'm telling you, it's his toughest challenge to date. But don't count Kai out. I feel like everybody's been counting him out every fight. They thought that about Louis Lopez. He beat Louis Lopez. They thought that about H.D. Davis. He beat H.D. Davis. And now people are saying that about Brian Duran. So we're going to see what happens. I'm very excited about that card in Hollywood, Florida. I don't want to – Cutman G. Perez is going to be back. I just saw that. We see him every fight, helping the guys and the women out to keep those fights going. Well, he's fighting Albert Inklin. Albert Inklin is a dog. This is going to be G's toughest challenge to date. They're going to be going crazy for Cutman G. Perez in his hometown area. They go nuts for him. They're very excited. People buying tickets already for that. BKFC.com. You can as well. But Albert Inklin's a dog. I've seen him against David Diaz. This guy does not know how to back up. He does not know how to stop. This will make G have his hands full, if I can speak correctly today. Other than that, on that card, we got Christine Vissens. Christine Vissens is fighting Melanie Shaw. Melanie Shaw, if you haven't seen her before, she's out of the UK, and she is a tough customer. Christine Vissens, you don't mess with her, though, either. She's there, and she's ready to fight. And I think we might share the same birthday, because she hit me on my birthday and said the best people were born that day. So we're looking forward to it. That's down the road. BKFC 62 in Hollywood, Florida. Again, all the events are at bkfc.com. But right here and now in front of us, we have BKFC 61. Like I said, first time in the Northeast in a while. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, there's still time to get them at bkfc.com. And what an event it's going to be. I was a little upset because some the fights fell off of this card, but we've made good. We've moved people up to the main event. And I kind of want to go through the card for a couple minutes. We'll do this a little bit later here and there with Chris Lytle, too. But I just want to talk about it. I even made notes, which I typically don't do. Chris Sarro is coming back. He's fighting Scott Roberts. Chris Sarro is a guy, Golden Gloves Chris Sarro, that's fought for us in the past. We haven't seen him in a while. Chris has to come back with a big win. Chris, I know, is excited to be back in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I know in the past he's trained with the likes of Josh Burns, who used to fight for us, and maybe Josh the Hammer Burns could see a comeback one day. We'd love that. But I'm excited to see where Chris has been and what he's going to do. That's a guy to look forward to seeing on this card coming up, BKFC 61. Also, Zach Shark Attack Kalmus. This guy's a lunatic, and I say that with love. He's an absolute madman. The guy has BKFC tattooed on his fists. The guy doesn't know how to stop fighting. He's fought boxing for many years. He's fought in boxing since he's a young kid. He's been here in BKFC for a good amount of time now. We've seen him fight. We enjoy watching him fight. He often is cornered by big boy Blake Lacaze, who also has fought for us before. They always come out with what I thought was the Friday the 13th mask on, but I was told that apparently Zach, a big hockey fan, and this is kind of close to his hometown. He's about an hour and a half away from there. So they're going to be out there supporting him loud and proud. I know Zach's very excited about this fight as well, and I want to see where that's going to go. I always say, with BKFC, it's not like boxing. It's not like MMA where you get together with your buddies and the prelims are on, or the featured fights. You wait until you get the featured fights. You have some beer, you have some pizza, you're talking amongst yourselves, you're half paying attention. No, not with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, my friends. You don't even have to know who these people are sometimes, and you're seeing these amazing fights. I'd argue that the people that are newer and that we don't know who they are, they're fighting even harder because they're trying to make an impact. They want knockout of the night. They want fight of the night. So make sure you're paying attention to the whole show. You can, of course, gamble on it. I can't because I work here. So bkfc.com for more info on where you can gamble and how you can make some money, hopefully. Make it for me because, believe me, I wish I could, but I don't want to go Pete Rose down. I don't want to do the Pete Rose thing. I just keep on the straight and narrow. Also on that card, Sarah Click versus Natalie Gage. That's coming up this Saturday. Don't sleep on the female fights either. It's always interesting to me to see how the female fights go. And our female division has been smoking. It's been on fire recently. Christine Fury, of course, sitting atop of that. Nobody seemingly wants to fight her. I just did see that Jessica Borga kind of did a loose call out to her, so we'll see what happens there. But right here now in Mohegan Sun, Sarah Click and Natalie Gage. We've seen Sarah Click before, and Natalie Gage, I believe, forgive me, this may be her first fight. You can look at the stats at bkfc.com. But I'm excited to see what happens in these fights. Females fight with such passion. It's a different fight a lot of times than you see with men. So keep your eye on that fight. That could be a sleeper. These two could tear into each other. And then, of course, Royal Ryan Reber. This guy, a success story. 5-0, undefeated, going for 6-0. I think 4 or 5 of those, I think 4 of them have ended in stoppages. Like, this guy doesn't let them go to the judges. He doesn't like doing that. Royal Ryan Reber is taking on Anthony the Hitman Foyer. And here's the thing with Royal Ryan Reber. If you don't know the guy's story, he's from Connecticut, so he's returning home. But Ryan Reber also, we found him at tryouts. And when we found him at tryouts, this was the same tryout we found Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt, who's a huge star for us, also Gian Hernandez. And he was picked first, but he was talked into coming to the tryout. He didn't even know to see if he still had it. He came in like his work boots and work clothes. And the president and founder, David Feldman, was like, that's our guy. And then he got turned down. The guy turned David Feldman down and said, I don't know if I want to do it. He thought about it more. They ended up elevating Lorenzo Hunt and Gian Hernandez, which is amazing finds. Thank God for that. And then he comes back after he meets Julian Let Me Bang Lane. He decides, I'm going to do this bare knuckle thing. And the guy is a star in the making. He's been on a tear. We'll see how he fares against the Hitman this Saturday night, bkfc.com, to grab that app to watch live. And then also the main event, we'll talk to him later. I want to talk to him more about what's going to happen. Jimmy Altera Rivera taking on Daniel Strauss. Daniel Strauss from Bellator. Jimmy Altera Rivera, he's fought here a couple times, as has Daniel's fought here once. But Jimmy is a UFC guy, and he was able to adapt nicely coming in here. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in that fight. Of course, that's your main event. Jimmy Altera Rivera knows how to mix it up. So does Daniel. I don't see a backwards gear. There's ranking implications in this big time. Again, I keep plugging it, but if you want to see where the rankings are at currently, they're up at bkfc.com. And also while you're there, order the app. It's dirt cheap. It's great. It's the best bargain in combat sports. You can find them on your couch cushions to watch this, and it'll be the best thing you ever see. We're going to come back with a lot more right after this.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Dion. I don't think Dion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number one seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort
night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's Brian Sosha. We're back at it again. BKFC. Love it. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I love being able to talk to you about it. I love bringing you guests that are some of the top ones in the industry, and this is no different. Jimmy Altera Rivera fighting Daniel Strauss this Saturday night, Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. We haven't been in the Northeast in a while, as I was saying earlier, and it's our time to come back. And why not come back with a guy like Jimmy Rivera on top of the card? Excited to have you here, Jimmy. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm really good, man. Thanks for making the time. And I want to talk about your fight. We're going to get to that in a minute, but there's other stuff that I find very interesting in your life. And if I'm correct, I could be wrong. That's going to blow the whole interview up because this is what I'm prepared for. Are you a state trooper? Did somebody recently tell me that?
No, I'm not a state trooper. I'm a police officer in Elmwood Park.
Oh, okay. I did. So I worked at a mall years ago, and we'd have troopers come in for shoplifters and stuff. And one time I didn't know any better, and I called him an officer, and you would have thought I'd shot him. It was like he was so upset I didn't call him trooper. So I don't mean to make that mistake, Officer Rivera. How long have you been with the department?
I've been about going on 5 years. I did 3 years as a dispatcher. Now I'm on my second year as a police officer. And yeah, the little state troopers get a little, temperamental about the whole if you don't call trooper, I guess. So it happens. It's okay.
I was very young. I didn't know any better. I learned quickly. And in PA, where I'm from, they have to wear those hats with the strap all the time. It's pretty cool. It made me wish I was one. But my brother's a police officer. I have the utmost respect for you men and women that do that. And I know recently, I mean, you don't have to speak on this if you don't want, but fairly recently, I hope it's gotten better. I know you guys weren't getting treated the best everywhere, so you deserve the best treatment. I do wonder, though, as far as the department, they know you're a fighter. They have to. You're Jimmy Rivera. But they know you're a bare knuckle fighter. How do they take to bare knuckle fighting when you go to do a fight? Do you have to take vacation time? What do they do?
Well, I mean, I do have to take some vacation time for this week, but I'm very blessed. A friend of mine is the chief of the town, and he's very pro it. Plus, besides that, we've also myself, Chief Mike Fligno, Elmwood Park Police Department, and Ron Showman, who's a co-founder of Irish Showman. We started a defensive tactics program. We've been doing it with the police department for going on to 5 years now. It's helped tremendously. Just being able to guys to be more hands-on. I think as a police, especially in the state of New Jersey, we're so much training that we get, but the only thing the only training we don't get enough of is that hands-on, and that's what we use the most. And that's what's going to make someone confident, be able to handle a situation, especially de-escalation. So, it is awesome. My chief is very pro with what I do, plus the defensive tactics that we've been working on and doing that with our department and other departments. I mean, on top of that, you have someone with my credentials coming in and being a police officer, and it's just a different demeanor, especially when we respond to calls and dealing with situations. I mean, we go in a high-intensity situation where it's like this upcoming Saturday where I got to go and fight someone in front of hundreds and thousands of people and people watching as well, to like now you're going where you need to save a life and stuff like that. So it's almost the same in a way, just it's a different type of situation. And with the backing of my chief and stuff like that and the guys from the department, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. You have all those guys behind you. I'm sure some of them will be at the fight watching you. I love the Tiger Showman. The synergy you can have with that, because I know you train there, and that's a big deal in your life. I wonder though, first of all, there's probably no crime in your area if they know Jimmy Rivera's work in the streets. They're not taking the risk. But seriously, I've talked to Chris Lytle about this, who we're going to be talking to in a couple minutes. He was a firefighter. He would go on calls and people would recognize him, like he'd save people's lives. Have you ever been recognized? Does anybody try to test you, like, Jimmy Rivera, you think you're a tough guy? You know how that goes.
I mean, I've been tested with people that don't know who I am, and people that know who I am. I've never been tested, but they do recognize me. I've done a couple pictures or autographs. We are bordering a town that's not the best town. We border a city. So we do get busy, but I think we get busy with everything. I think Elmwood Park is one of those towns where you get a little bit of every kind of spectrum.
In the police stuff, you have to have some type of love for law enforcement to do that. It's the same, like you said earlier, with fighting. You have to have a love to do that as well. And there's similarities between the two that you pointed out. But you don't, and I could be wrong. I might be putting you on Main Street here, but you don't strike me as a guy that needs fighting. You have the police department. It looks like I would guess you've saved some money over the years. Why? Why do you continue to fight? Is it just within you? Not only fight, but bare knuckle. I mean, this is a serious man sport. It's no joke. It's the hardest thing. Why bare knuckle for you?
I mean, I love testing myself. I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like when you go back to Rocky. It's just one of those things that you have the love for the sport, whether, it's MMA, boxing, bare knuckle, any kind of competition, fight in sport, having love for it and is one of those things that like continues and you enjoy it. I remember it was a little time before I had my first bare knuckle fight with Howard Davis, and having that like year off, it sucked, man. Just getting in there and fighting was just so much fun. You know what I mean? I don't really like having a layoff and having time between fights. I'd like to try to get them going, but besides that, it's just a love for a sport, man. I love getting out there. I love competing. And I love, fighting. And I guess it's, I'm a little nutty in a way. I guess I enjoy it a lot.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. I mean, a little nutty or not, you're enjoying it. You're doing it. And matter of fact, you're really going to enjoy it coming up this Saturday, Mohegan Sun. Like I said, the first time we've been to the Northeast in a while. You're on top of the card. Daniel Strauss. What do you make of this guy? How do you beat him? What are you going to do?
I mean, I obviously he's a tough dude, with former Bellator champ. Just keep the pressure on and take the fight to him. You know what I mean? He likes to outside fight a lot, and I like to inside fight. So where I like it the most, where I'm the most comfortable.
Well, that's going to be an exciting fight. Again, main eventing at Mohegan Sun, BKFC.com. Still a few tickets left. You can watch it on the app as well. It's all there at BKFC for you, BKFC.com, I should say. Before we wrap up with you, we got a couple seconds left, but fighting so close to home, we mentioned your police department's probably going to be there, your family, your friends. What's that feel like? That's got to be awesome.
I mean, it's the last time I fought in Jersey was at the Prudential Center for the UFC, and it was just super loud. So being somewhat closer to home, I mean, Connecticut is still a little bit of a drive, but being somewhat closer to home, it's going to be exciting. I can't wait. All the people that said that are coming out, that bought tickets, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to put on a show, and I'm going with that second round knockout with Strauss. That's for sure.
All right, we love it, man. Jimmy Altera Rivera coming kind of his hometown, and we're looking forward to seeing what he's going to do this Saturday night. Thank you, Jimmy. We're back next with Chris Lights Out Lytle. Boom!
You look at the Denver Nuggets and say, whoa, just a week ago, they were that minus 115 or so price. Now we're looking at them at a 7-1 price. Any chances the Nuggets can actually come back?
I think this is going 6 or 7 games, so I think that could be a little bit of a tighter spread between those two. But when you got those two guys, those two monsters, and Towns and Edwards, it's just really hard.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You got to get more athletic and better defensively, right? You got to get better shooting. And if you can do those two things and hope that Darvingham takes that next step, if you bring him back, they can be better. But if you don't do that, you must more than anything the Lakers. You must get rid of Rob Pelinka and get a better basketball guy.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
That was great catch up with Jimmy Altera Rivera a couple minutes ago. Finding out more about his life and the big fight coming up, of course, Mohegan Sun this Saturday night. BKFC.com to grab those tickets. I'm talking about BKFC 61. Another guy I love to catch up with, one of my best friends at Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. You've seen him fight. You've seen him fight in the UFC. You've seen him fight in BKFC. You've seen him fight everywhere. The guy's a fighter. And he's a great commentator, too. Let's bring in Chris Lights Out Lytle. How you doing, good friend, good pal, good buddy? he's
Man,
ready to go.
Doing great. Doing great. Can't wait to put on some more fights. I'm not used to these breaks anymore, Brian. We take a week off. I'm like, well, I'm not doing something I'm supposed to be doing. So a week off is weird for me. We had it. It's over. Let's get back to business, baby.
Yeah, now here we are, fight week, right? Full speed ahead. And we're going to get to BKFC 61 in just a little bit, but I haven't been able to talk to you on the air in a while. Even though we're good friends, we talk off the air, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot to inform people about that we may know and others may not because we're so close to the organization. The main thing everybody's talking about it, Conor McGregor, a new owner of the company. He posted about it. He's been nonstop posting about us. I just saw he was hanging out with Mick Terrell, or he retained the title, as you saw at Knucklemania 4 against Lorenzo Hunt. And there had the UFC belt next to the BKFC belt. And I want to talk about all that, but more so you. You've been in both organizations. What do you think Conor McGregor does for us? I know what I think, but I'd love to hear your analysis.
Oh, I think he blows us up. And for this reason, and this reason only, people, once they see us, they love us. A lot of people don't know we're here, what we're doing. It sounds terrible, bare knuckle up. But when you actually watch it, you love it. So I think he's going to bring us eyeballs. And that's all we need at this point. If we can get eyeballs on us, you're going to get fans. We got to find a way to get more people to see what we're doing. I don't know if that's through, I like the bar program. If we could get more people watch at the bars, that'd be great. Or more people get in the app, or just more people watch on Fubo. Any way we can get more people to put eyeballs on our product, they're going to like it. And Conor, nobody's going to bring more eyeballs to us than him.
No, nobody. And I'll piggyback on that. And I'll tell you, I feel that, it's Conor McGregor. I was saying to the president, founder, David Feldman, the other day on the phone, I said, I don't think we could have a better guy to get ownership in the company. Like back in the day, it would have been like Mike Tyson. Conor's better than that now for us. I feel like he's the Michael Jordan. And I'm not just talking of combat sports. I feel like movies. He's got the highest streaming thing on Amazon. I feel like UFC, all sports. This guy's one of the top people, not even top 5, top 3 in my estimation. And I feel like he can open a lot of doors for us. As you said, bare knuckle fighting championship, you hear that. People, let's be honest, we love it. TV execs are like, oh, they get scared. They're people that have probably never been in a fight in their life. I shouldn't be saying this. I'll never get a TV deal here. But the thing is, they get a little nervous about it. And I think that when you walk a Conor McGregor in with you, he's a household name. It was much like I said about Mario Lopez at Knucklemania 4 in LA. He got us on more interviews than we would have been able to get on through being Mario Lopez, and he's a combat sports fan. Now you have Conor McGregor. There could be sponsorship deals he could help us with. There could be intros to streaming platforms. What was it, Amazon? The guy has to have some clout at Amazon. It's like the highest streamed movie of all time, Roadhouse. Did you watch that yet? I didn't get to see it yet.
Haven't watched it yet, but yeah, he can open all these doors. But to me, I mean, my ultimate dream and goal from dude needs to fight for us a couple times. That's my thought. I mean, you've done boxing, you've fought Floyd Mayweather, the best ever. You've won a couple UFC titles. What's there left to do there? Nothing. Come over to bare knuckle, win the title here, right off into the sunset. That for branding, for just his own, mental health and well-being. You want to go out on the right note. I think it makes complete sense. Come over here, win a title, get the hell out of Dodge. Conor, if you're listening, that's what we need to do. I don't understand. Come on, I mean, do your UFC fight, whatever you have to. Come over here, win your title, right off in the sunset, my man.
I don't think we can have Conor McGregor as one of the owners of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship and not have him compete at least once. I don't think Conor's mentality would allow him not to compete. Conor's going to have to get in there once, in my opinion. And I'll tell you what, Knucklemania 4, we're a couple weeks removed, but LA, our big debut, I mean, it was a who's who. You had the guy from The Punisher in the crowd. You had everybody in there. You had Nate Diaz in the crowd, too. I'm just saying, Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, that's something I'd want to see. Lido, am I wrong to say that?
I mean, makes a lot of sense. I mean, who knows? I don't really care who we put him in there with. Let him have a couple fights. Let him do his thing. It'd be great. Put him in there at tough. Fight for a title. Conor's got ridiculously good hands. I'd love to see him in there. It makes complete sense. Knucklemania was a huge event. I mean, it was overall a great time. Some of the fights, there was a couple amazing fights. A couple of them, we got a lot of injuries. The injury bug I didn't like, but hey, it is what it is. On paper, it was one of the best cards. It was a lot of fun.
It did a lot for the company. And, we're going to keep going with Lido here. We'll talk to him in a couple minutes about how he likes to steal vodka on planes. We're going to talk about BKFC 61 coming up at Mohegan Sun.
I don't steal. It's a gift.
There's so much more. It'll be right after this, BKFC 61 and more. Sorry, Lido.
I get that vodka. That's mine. I'm drinking tomorrow.
a surprise winner on the PGA Tour. Taylor Pendrith ends up winning his first PGA Tour win.
He was pretty darn lucky to win. Ben Coles should have won that tournament. Also seeking his first PGA Tour victory, he went into the 18th hole, the easiest hole on the golf course, with a one-shot lead, and he was there in two, just less than 30 feet from the cup.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
You're not going to get the Tiger Woods size audience because do you know where they went? They went to Caitlin Clark. That's where those people went.
What?
Those people are now going to the WNBA. Yeah, the fan that only watches what's hot, the fan, the casual who doesn't really like sports but likes to be involved in the in thing. They're watching
cooler discussion.
They're watching Caitlin Clark.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Draisaitl could easily, at plus money, get the first goal, the second goal, the fourth goal. There's a few guys here. Maybe the prop betting market is not a bad way to look here.
Clippers over the Mavericks. If I would have told you that score before the game, knowing that Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing, I would have really figured it would have been the other way around. But the NBA is just crazy.
In-game live, all access, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Conor McGregor, I'm drinking my Forged Irish Stout here. I just got caught coming back from a commercial. I'm not drunk, I promise. Now, before we went to commercial, I was accusing Chris Lytle of many different things, one being that he likes to steal vodka from planes. Chris, can you explain yourself why you enjoy stealing vodka from planes?
Well, Brian, you're inaccurate. It's not stealing when it's a gift. If it's gifted to you. So what I like to do is I like to go in there and I'll order a drink. You know, a lot of times I'm a big deal. I get bumped up to first class, so I get free drinks. And I say I need 2 vodkas. And sometimes the other one, I don't want to drink it all. I'm trying to be responsible. So I put it in my pocket and I walk off. I might have 10 to 20, maybe 30 upstairs, but that's here or there. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to be a responsible individual, Brian. I'm not like you. I wasn't in the pro wrestling world where who knows what, no rules. I don't know.
Yeah, the pro wrestling world got a little nuts, man. They wouldn't put one in their pocket. They drank like 6 of them on the plane. And it was a lot of fun, too. I want to know where you learned that from.
I think it was you. You do that to me, and then you try and put me on blast for it. I see how we do things right now. It's all right.
That's my gimmick. That's what I do.
Yeah, you're the heel. I can tell you're a heel. You're a heel.
You throw all the wrestling lingo. I love it. Listen, babyface Chris, what I want to tell you is I have the vodka stacked up in my kitchen that I have. My father-in-law said to me recently, he said, why do you have all this vodka here? What's going on? Are you drinking? I'm like, nah, man, I'm stockpiling. It's me versus Lytle. We're seeing we can get more. So we'll keep you updated anytime I host a show and Lytle comes on, who has the most. Maybe we'll put it on our social medias too. I'm Social Network on Instagram and Lytle. You can give yours. What's your name on there? We can check it out. See who has more bottles.
It's tough to figure that. It's Chris Lights Out Lytle. I don't know who came up with that, but
that's a hard one. It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
So let's talk. Let's get off the booze. Let's get off the booze for a minute here because, we got other important stuff to talk about. I noticed that Hawani was talking about us recently. He talked about BKFC, about PFL. And he was talking about, he had 2 guys on there with him. He said, which one would you rather invest in at this moment? And to me, I work here. I say BKFC. And I probably would say that if I didn't work here, it's no knock on PFL. I just think that BKFC we're on a pretty quick rise right now, which is very cool to be a part of. Every guy on the show said BKFC. It made me feel good to be in that conversation. What are your thoughts right now? I mean, you were with the UFC, you watched them grow. I feel like we're growing in the same way, but it's a little different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what are your thoughts on how we're growing right now and how you would possibly invest in BKFC if you could?
I mean, Brian, if I worked for the company, if I didn't, if you have any sense as a business person, you would know if you're investing in one, it has to be BKFC for this reason. I mean, they are always going to be a second tier. They're never going to take over the UFC. Not saying their stock couldn't go up, not saying it couldn't be valuable, but we have the potential to be, an explosive stock. They don't have that potential. The growth potential for us is unlimited. We could be huge. We could be up rivaling the UFC. They're never going to do that. So let's say they could possibly go up 100%. We have the ability to go up 1,000%. I mean, even more. Who knows The sky's the limit with us. They don't have that, and everybody sees that. Everybody sees we are in the process of blowing up. We are the UFC in 2002, 2003. They're not that. PFL's never going to be that. So that's where I think we really have the advantage. And that's where I think people realize and recognize. And everybody said that. They're like, man, their potential is unlimited. I mean, we have such a great product. We have the best of everything. We have the excitement. We have their shorter rounds. They're more exciting. We have a lot of fights, a lot of knockouts. I mean, we took the best of every aspect of combative fighting and put it onto one fight. Who doesn't want to watch that? I mean, that's why I keep saying people hear it, they don't like the sound of it, but when they watch, like, oh, okay, I get it. I was the same way. I heard it, I was like, what's wrong with those people? I watched the fight, I said, I'm doing it. And that's what I love about some of these fighters. You can tell who really wants to be like who is a real fighter at heart when they see it's like, I got to do it. You know, I've talked to a lot of fighters and they're wanting to be part of this. Even when they retire, like, I got to do a fight. Yeah, that's how I felt. I got to do a fight. It's just different, and people recognize that.
Yeah, I heard he fights first, Jared the Lion Ridge, wonderful guy. I heard him talking on a show, and he said something that I completely agree with, and I didn't even know I'd shared the same thought process as him. UFC, juggernaut, right? Here we are, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. We're coming up. I'd say we're number 2. I thought maybe Bellator, but then they merged with PFL, and then I feel like they didn't. I thought they might have some more power, but I still see us going, like you're saying. But I don't see us competing with UFC. It's like me. You said pro wrestling earlier. I like pro wrestling. I like boxing. While they're in the same realm, kind of, they're not. So I feel like UFC does what they do, and we do what we do. Now, I'm probably impartial, but I think we take the best parts of the UFC, which is the stand-up game, which a lot of fans mainstream want to see. They want to see a fight. And we don't have any rolling around on the ground and stuff like that. So I feel like while we're competing with them, we're not. They can be their own thing, and we can be our own thing, and we can kind of get up next to them, but we're not competing. They're so huge, I wouldn't want to compete with them anyway, to be quite honest with you. I know you were there in UFC, and you had mentioned to me one time to enjoy the ride, because you said it changes as the levels change. And I thought that was very interesting that you said that. Why did you say that?
I was there when nobody cared about that sport. I was there when it was not a joke is the right word, but we were illegal everywhere. And when you're growing up, you're developing and you have a hardcore fringe of people, but the mainstream would never touch you with a 10-foot pole. People thought you were crazy if you fought in a cage. And so it was smaller. I remember having a fight, I think it was in the Mohegan Sun we're going to be this week. And then afterwards, hanging out in a room where everybody was hanging out, and you could see like Chuck Liddell was over there, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture's over here doing stuff. I'm talking to Evan Tanner, and then everybody hung out. It reminds me of us afterwards sometimes when people are all down the lobby just hanging out, having a couple of beers. That's going to change. As this sport grows and blows up, everybody's going to have an after-fight party, in Pure, or wherever, little club in Vegas or whatever. So everybody's going to have their own thing. People aren't going to hang out. It's going to be different. This is the fun part, though. I didn't recognize it when it was happening until later. And you look back, like, those were the fun times. That's why I'm so happy to be doing this again. How often you get to repeat history? I'm getting to do it, and now I'm telling you guys, take this in, because it'll be gone, and you'll look at it, and there'll be good parts. There'll be some very positive parts. There'll be some things you miss, and this is going to be one of them. Us just hanging out. You got to enjoy these little things now.
Yeah, and I don't think a Chris Lett or a Brian Soch is ever going to stop stealing vodka on airplanes, no matter how big we get. But I will say this: I heed your advice, and I understand what you mean.
But it's not stealing.
Sorry, we're borrowing it.
I'm not giving it back. Right? They give it to me. I was gifted. So
you're a liar, dude. I've seen you after flights. You give it back. You throw it up in the airport bathroom. I've seen it happen, Chris.
That part's true, but I got a problem. I got problems.
Listen, you don't have any problem. We have to get to BKFC 61 in Mohegan Sun. It's going to be a great card that goes down this Saturday. What fight are you looking most forward to in that card? I always like to pick your brain about that.
I mean, obviously, I was disappointed when Faria got knocked off. That's no good. But I was really excited about the co-main. Rivera's going to be great. I mean, what a fight. That's going to be phenomenal. Obviously, Ryan Reber, he's undefeated for us. You got to like that. But, I mean, people aren't really even recognizing we have an Olympian on here. We haven't had many Olympians. Rick Hunt, I mean, a judo Olympian, was phenomenal in his fight career. wants to do bare knuckle. I mean, he's even older than I was when I first came out to fight, but I think he's going to be 46, 47. But man, he's an athlete. He's a stud. There's just so many good fights on his card. This could be one of those sleepers where it doesn't matter on paper. Some of these look phenomenal, but they're not. I think this is going to be a really good competitive card.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. You got Zach Kalmus. He's a lunatic in a good way. He's coming back.
Yeah.
You got the female fights. I think, what's her name? Sarah Click and Natalie Gage are going to be on there. The female fights are always very passionate. Jimmy Altera Rivera on top against Daniel Strauss. These two guys ready to go to war. Mohegan Sun is going to be insane. It's going to be rocking. I'm looking forward to it. If you can't make it there live, you can't get the ticket at bkfc.com. You're not in the Northeast. See, we haven't been in the Northeast in a while. Like I keep saying, I'm excited to be back here in kind of not my home area, but close enough to Philadelphia. So if you can't make it out for some reason, you're not in the Northeast, you can grab the app and you hear Chris Lytle's melodic voice, me, commentating on the BKFC app alongside Sean Wheelock. You guys make me feel when I listen like I'm hanging out with you. It's not like you're talking at me. It's like we're hanging out, you're explaining it, and we're having a good time. It's like a big party. BKFC 61, Chris Lytle, I will see you there. I'm looking forward to it. I'll say it again, Mohegan Sun, if you can get your tickets, get them now. It's going to be a barn burner of a night, and we're not even close to being done. There's so much other stuff you can check on bkfc.com. Chris Lytle, thank you, my friend.
My man, I'll talk to you.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number one seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Oh, I love talking to these wonderful people. I love talking to you. Thank you for being here, hanging out with us. I'm Brian Socia, in for Brian Ciano, and this is awesome. This is so much fun to be on Bare Knuckle Fighting Main Event. Guys like Jared Warren, Captain Deadpool, I get to catch up with. Got a big fight coming up, of course, for the light heavyweight championship of the world against Jomi Escoboza. Two formidable fighters, you obviously being one of them. Jared, Captain Deadpool, Warren, welcome to the show. Before we get into anything, where are you at today? It looks like you're in a halfway house. Where are you? No, there's no decorations.
Something like that. No, I'm at the fire station today. I ducked off into a little office to do this interview real quick. But yeah, tones could go off at any time, so we'll just keep our fingers crossed.
So those of you that don't know, Jared Warren involved with the fire department, involved with this community. I also appreciate you taking the shades off, not trying to be a cool guy when you came on wearing shades like some guys do. Like that's not in your let me see the shades on. Quick, I want to see how they look. Put them on. Whoa, the future's so bright. He's got to wear shades. Captain Deadpool looking very cool. Look at that. Wow. There you go.
Ball, I can take them off. They don't fall off my.
You know what? I'm going to keep going. I feel like you have an air conditioner or something turned on. I'm hearing a lot of static, but no, nothing. Okay. Well, let's keep moving then. I don't know if the producers are hearing it. They'll stop me if need be. But you're exciting to watch fight. I've seen you break another man's face. Literally. I talk about your power has broken another man's face. Who the heck in the world's done that but you? Captain Deadpool. You've been on a tear in bare knuckle fighting championship since the day I met you. Now here you are. You're coming up on it, BKFC 62, Hollywood, Florida, at the Hard Rock Live. I mean, it's always a great event there. We have 3 title fights, and you're one of them. You're fighting Jomi Escoboza. This guy has also been on a tear. This is why it's so important to watch this fight. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts when you found out that you were going to be tangled with Jomi?
I was excited about it, man, because for those of you guys who don't know, he's only got 1 loss, and it came from yours truly. So it's a fun rematch for me. We both, since we fought each other, I think it was July of 22 we fought. We both won our fights that we've had since then. Everybody keeps elevating, and the fight makes sense. You know what I mean? And last time we did it in my hometown, and he cried about it a little bit. This time we get to do it in his hometown, which I prefer, because that way, after I beat him, there's no excuses about judges or any other bullcrap. It is what it is.
I didn't know about that, but I wanted you to go off on that. I figured if I set you up for it, and you did, I knew you would, about the win. That's very important to talk about. I'm glad you brought that up, because you've been in there with him once. You've beaten the man once. He has that wacky jab, that awkward jab that he loves, that strange jab. What did you learn your first fight with Jomi that you think you can carry into your next fight or maybe make adjustments on? Was there anything like that coming out of that fight you thought about, or you just felt good because you won?
I felt great about it, but every time I complete a fight, whether it's, seems like it went perfect or not at the time, I always go back, watch the tape, and I see things that I could have done better. And, my coaches do the same thing. And, they're usually just minor adjustments that pay big dividends. So, we've long gone through all that and, just, constantly tuning it up, polishing everything up. I think the main difference is this fight won't go the distance. He's the only guy that I've beaten that I haven't knocked out. So that gives me that personal goal of now I have to knock him out. So definitely going to push the pace. His last couple fights, even though he won, both of them, the pace slowed a little bit. There was actually like a couple of boring, layups in the middle of it. And I don't want that to happen. I've never been a part of a boring fight so far, so I'm gonna keep the pace, keep it in his face, and not let that be an option.
Yeah, I feel like I saw an interview with you. I think Jomi was on it too, and you were predicting, and I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying push the pace. Did you say you were trying to do the knockout by round 2, get it done early?
Yeah. My quote with that was that, I'm just going off statistics, and the majority of my fights end in first or second round knockout. So I feel like it makes sense for that to be an accurate prediction.
Another thing I look at with you is, we've talked about this many times, I want to bring it up again, where you train. That makes a huge difference. I've seen this time and time again in bare knuckle. You have men and women that maybe train just at a boxing gym or just train in an MMA gym. There's no other bare knuckle fighters there. You're with Shift, which is one of, if not the top bare knuckle contingent, I'll call you guys, in the entire industry. I don't think you guys have had a loss in many, there's some huge stat where you guys haven't had a loss in like forever on a Shift. So I hope you're able to keep that up, and I'm looking forward to see what happens. As far as Shift, how long was it? How long was it?
We had 18 months. We had our first recently with Fight Night in Clearwater. What's his name? My boy Jafar didn't pull that one out. That was his first loss as a fighter.
Jared, let me help you. Jared. I was trying to help you out there. I was trying to forget about that loss and just kind of go past it, but you're an honest guy. I appreciate you. So there's one loss in a very long time with Shift MMA. You got to promote it the right way, right? Or Shift Combat now. I'm sorry. Shift Combat, full of bare knuckle fighters. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jared. I just want to let you know what I'm going for here. And the thing is, when you train with bare knuckle fighters, it makes a huge difference. That's safe to say. And what is it? What makes you guys such a great place to train? I feel like everybody wants to be with Shift.
It's just the coaches are very intelligent people, been there a long time. They're very like family oriented. Some gyms, you go to and you train hard, you learn stuff, but it's not very enjoyable. It's always like a full like mental and physical scrap. There we're always having a good time. We're making jokes, we're screwing with each other, but we're also learning and making adjustments and critiquing ourselves at the same time. And it just makes you want to go back. And we just, we all just grind day and night all the time.
You guys are always hanging out at events. It seems like that family atmosphere. Look, Jared Warren, Joe Escoboza, light heavyweight championship of the world. That's coming up June 21st, Hollywood, Florida. Make sure you're tuned in, bkfc.com to grab the app, or you can buy tickets there as well. It's going to be a banger. Everyone's looking forward to it. Jared Warren is saying, Joe me through in 2 by statistics. We wish you a lot of luck and a great fight.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Jared Warren, Captain Deadpool.
You got to get more athletic and better defensively, right? You got to get better shooting. And if you can do those 2 things and hope that Darvingham takes the next step, if you bring him back, they can be better. But if you don't do that, you must more than anything the Lakers. You must get rid of Rob Pelinka and get a better basketball guy.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
I just don't want to play for clicks. I want to be involved with a great leading program that's going to develop players. Him leaving Colorado, a shot across the bow at Dion. I don't think Dion cares.
We saw Logan Diggs move on from LSU to Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Don't be shocked if you see John Emery potentially maybe at another school, maybe like a Miss State or even maybe like a Texas A&M.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time had 35 in the first half, Cam. And then, of course, he did not have another point the rest of the game.
Lillard's, it's playoff game time. This guy will show up. He will hit shots. Indiana, you better respond here, because I'll tell you, that's a bad loss. We were wrong, Carver. Like, hey, I admit, I was on the Pelicans. This game, I lost.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Man, that was great. If you missed the last segment, go back and rewatch it. I'm sure this will re-air at some point. But catching up with Jared, Captain Deadpool Warren, who's going to be fighting at BKFC 62, June 21st. It's going to be insane. It always is in Hollywood, Florida, at Hard Rock Live. You can get your tickets at bkfc.com. And I was thinking, as we were in commercial break, this has been a show of like first responders. We've had Jimmy Altera Rivera, who's fighting at BKFC 61 this Saturday night. We found out that he's a police officer. We appreciate that. Then we talked to Chris Lights Out Loud, one of my good friends, who is actually stepped away from the fire department to do bare knuckle fighting championship full time, which is very exciting because that shows you the growth we're having. We're able to bring some more people on. We appreciate his service as well. And then we talked to Captain Deadpool, who's a firefighter, EMT. There you go, man. First responders. We bow to you. We appreciate you. And we thank you. If you're a first responder watching or military and like that, we're very grateful for that. We really appreciate what you do to help out our country and us locally as well. So let's talk about, aside from that, what a segue. I'm going from our country, I'm going over to Japan now. I want to talk about Japan because Japan, can I speak today? Japan. It's Japan. Yes, Japan. It's very easy to say. I must be very tired. Japan has been for years. MMA, I know in pro wrestling, it's a huge deal to perform in Japan, for combat sports to be in Japan. And recently, we had our first ever bare knuckle fighting championship fight in Japan. We did it on a Rising card. You're seeing some of it now. And what I notice here is that a lot of times in Japan, from when I've been there, the fans are very reserved. They love fighting spirit, but they're very, very reserved. They're very calm. These people, I don't know if you can see it in that clip, I'm talking about when I watched it live, they were going nuts. They were going bonkers for bare knuckle fighting. And apparently Ryzen was very happy with it. And I was talking to the president and founder, David Feldman, a couple minutes ago. He told me they were happy with it. So that comes from the boss. And he said, we're looking to do more, I think, with them and put on more fights. Because that was only one fight on a Ryzen card. But now we've wet the palate, as we typically do with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. And they want more. And we can't wait to get to Japan and give it to you and give it to them. And, you know, more stuff to bet on and gamble on. Not me, of course. Like I said, I don't want to be Pete Rose. I said that earlier, but you. It's a lot of fun if you've never bet on a fight. BKFC.com, you can find out more how to do that. And bare knuckle is even more fun to bet on because it's not like boxing or MMA where you're like, okay, all right, this is quick paced. And you find yourself, I've seen my friends do it, screaming at the TV. They've taken videos like out for blood because you want your money. So make sure you get in on the gambling. I think there's some kind of special offer at BKFC.com. I could be wrong. I'm not allowed to gamble, but you are. So gamble for me. Also, Conor McGregor. We talked about this a little bit today, too. This is a big deal. One of the new owners of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship and what it's going to do for us with maybe TV network, with sponsorships. Just, I can feel it already, the amount of articles that have come out about this. You may be watching the show now because you heard about it through Conor McGregor. It's very exciting, and I thought it was cool that our heavyweight champion of the world, who just retained his title, Mick Terrell, he's from the birthplace of Bare Knuckle, the UK, he was hanging out with Conor McGregor, man. They had the UFC belt and the BKFC belt side by side. They had them taking pictures. It looked like Conor really took care of our heavyweight champion of the world in a victory celebration with some of his friends. So we thank Conor McGregor for that. And, you know, it looks like Mick Terrell's on top of the world. We'll see what's next for him as well. The other thing I want to talk about is BKFC 61 before we get out of here. We have very limited time. I know we talked about at the top of the show, a little bit with Chris Lytle too, but we have not been to the Northeast in forever. This is from Philly, where I'm at, my studio. So it's an easy drive for me. If you're in the Philadelphia area, anywhere in the Northeast, I don't know the next time we'll be back in this area, so get your tickets now at BKFC.com. Jimmy Altair Rivera on top against Daniel Strauss. That's going to be a good fight in itself. And then you got Royal Ryan Reber going for 6-0. Then after this, he's got to get a title shot, I would think, in his hometown. We're looking forward to that fight as well. And we talked about Zach Calamus. The guy's a lunatic. I say that nicely because I don't want him to beat me up. This guy lives to fight. There's nothing else he'd rather do. He's going to be there too, like an hour and a half from his hometown. This card has awesomeness written all over it. Make sure you're tuned in. BKFC 61. Our debut. This is historic, too, if you think about it. Live from Connecticut. We've never done bare knuckle fighting in Connecticut, and now here we are. Mohegan Sun. We look forward to seeing you there. BKFC.com for everything you need to know. I appreciate being here with you today. Brian Ciano off sipping his cocktails or whatever he's doing. Actually, we should have him call in next time he's not here. If he's on the beach sipping cocktails, he probably would slur his words. It'd be very funny. It's typically what I do. I mean, I've been drinking this Forged Irish Stout the whole time. You don't even know that because I do it during the commercial break. I love coming on with you. It's an honor to be here. And they're telling me I'm going to get paid this time, not just telling me the check's in the mail like normal. Shames, if you're listening, I know you have some new high-ranking position. Make sure the check is in the mail. We're looking forward to it. BKFC 61. Look, I love you guys. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for hanging out with me. I couldn't think of anything better to do with my time than be on the Bare Knuckle Fighting main event with you, Brian Ciano. Thank you for following us. Thank you for what you do. It's only just begun. Make sure you tune in again next week. See you then.